All right, welcome back for the first time since October of 2023 to
Yep.
the County Gamers podcast. My name is Aaron,
And I'm Phill.
and we have returned. That's what, at least 2023, that's at least 2 years, a year and a half?
Yeah,
I can't-
I use that as my marking stone of when I joined the podcast
Oh, yeah, that's right.
experience period.
Yeah, that's
So.
where it all began.
Yeah.
It's Phil's origin story, not his villain origin story.
Actually, I want to point out because I went back and listened to the first ever podcast I was on with you, which was County Gamers, and man, my voice was cringe. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was like trying to sound cooler than I am.
Right?
I was like, what? Huh? I don't talk like that.
What happened? But you've learned so much.
Yeah.
And we're so glad that you joined our little merry band of podcasters. So what have you been up to since October of 2020? I mean, obviously you've been a part of the Nerds by Screenlight podcast.
Yeah.
But I guess gaming-wise, what have you been up to since October of 2023? In a brief summary, have you been gaming more or not gaming as much?
Oh, I make time to game.
Yeah.
Every day. And it's always different things. Like I'll stop playing a game for a couple years, then go back to it. And so lately, actually, this is something that I'll always play. Halo.
Yeah.
Funny thing is about that now is that Zoe's dad watches me play Halo. And he was asking me questions about the game,
Okay.
how does this work? What's that? And he's all impressed with the graphics. And
Nice.
but now he's gotten to where when my teammates do something stupid,
Right.
he'll call them out on it.
You've got your own Twitch viewer.
He likes, my only viewer. He likes watching it more than Zoe does. Zoe hates it.
Why does Zoe hate it?
She just doesn't like Halo. I don't know. Maybe it's because she's not good at it.
So I joined Zoe in this. I'm not a fan of Halo. I've tried to get into it over the years. For whatever reason, it's just not my jam.
Yeah.
And I think because it annoys me. And it's because I'm more of an RPG. I like to do more of that open world. And Halo's very one-on-one combat. And it's a multiplayer game in a lot of ways, correct?
It's at its heart, yeah. That's where that's what people care about the most.
Yeah.
It might be a skill issue because in Halo you got you got your shield,
Yeah.
and then once you deplete their shield,
Yeah.
then it's just one pop to the head and
and you're done.
you get it.
Okay.
But doing that can be very difficult when they're hopping around and
Right.
jumping all over the place, and you gotta have aim. So.
Yeah, I understand. For me, my gaming has continued. I've had to limit it a little because I do have a full-time job, and so I've played a lot of Sim. I've played a lot of City Skylines 2 came out, and a lot of that stuff. I've been playing a lot of just Baldur's Gate 3. I'm eyeballing Enzoi, which is coming out in a week, I think. It's the Sims 2 challenge or Sims 4 Challenger. It's the new simulation game that has kind of blown apart the idea that EA has controlled the Sims kind of simulation world. So I've still been gaming. I've gotten back into World of Warships this last week or so, and even War Thunder, which is the other online naval tank airplane shoot 'em up game.
Those are the free to play ones, right?
Free-to-play,
Yeah.
which for the record, I've never really enjoyed those games. But these two at least are interesting and have my attention and are different than being just a one person in a massive battle on a field and whatever. At least it's approachable for me, and I like the history of the subject. So I guess the TLDR for you out there listening, which it's too late for you because you've been listening to this whole thing, is we've both been gaming just at different levels. What we're going to do today is after we play our catchy intro music, we're going to dig in and talk about where we think gaming is, where is it going, what kind of games have we found that have been really exciting and successful, and what games are really still grinding our gears or have recently ground our gears, and kind of all that stuff. So it'll be, we'll see how long we talk for. We will be back. I think we're going to do it every other week. So we'll be back in 2 weeks to talk more. We're possibly, this is a big old tease, possibly going to do a video podcast, transform this into a video podcast that you'll be able to see both of our faces on the internets as a part of this podcast. And maybe some gaming. We've got to figure out how to put that together.
Yeah, that would be great.
As a thing. So we'll see what we do. We'll be right back here on The County Gamers, episode 28, back after such a long time. Back in your ears, and we'll be back in your ears in just a moment here on the podcast. All right, welcome back to the County Gamers podcast. My name is Aaron.
I'm Phil.
And so, Phil.
Yeah.
It's been a year and a half. Has gaming gotten any better?
I'm going to say yes.
Ooh, okay.
And I know a lot of people weren't expecting me to say that because
I was chief among them.
I routinely crap on the gaming industry, but I have learned that you just need to know where to look. Don't try new things.
Yeah.
There's been some awesome games that came out, and no one talks about them.
Mm-hmm.
One of them being Dynasty Warriors Origins.
Okay.
If you are a fan of like the old school Dynasty Warriors, now the last Dynasty Warriors game was terrible, which is probably why no one has paid attention to this one.
Yeah.
But this one is awesome. I'm talking like hundreds, if not thousands, of enemies on screen at a time, and
Really?
you can wipe out hundreds of them in just one combo.
That's crazy.
And it's awesome. Like, it's great. The graphics are amazing. The story so far is very interesting, in my opinion. One thing that people might be thrown off about it is you play as only one character.
Okay.
Whereas in the last games you played as everyone from the Dynasty Warriors era.
Okay.
But I feel like this game, like your character is unique.
Mm-hmm.
Other games, you got Elden Ring, masterpiece.
Yeah.
And
the DLC.
The DLC. Oh gosh, I have it. See, I actually did something that I never do.
Okay.
And usually, like when stuff like that comes out, I just buy it.
Yeah.
I have not bought it yet because I have not even reached a point to be able to play it.
Right. Because I'm in the same boat. I'm still. I have not returned back to Elden Ring in that year, probably in the year and a half.
Right.
But I always want to because it's about that time when we had our last episode. I was having kind of a renaissance with Elden Ring. I was getting
You were cheating.
Okay, I freely admit I use trainers in most of my games because I'm not that competitive. I'm more interested in discovering and exploring and experiencing.
Yeah.
And with Elden
you
Ring,
bought the game, and as long as you're not doing it online and affecting other players, do you?
Yeah, I would never ever do that. But with Elden Ring, it was like I finally figured out how to explore and do what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And once that clicked, it was like, whoa, this is insanity. This game is massive.
Yeah. And now we got Elden Ring Night Rain coming out, which I've seen people get like early alpha or beta tests to it, and actually was a networking test. That looks very good.
Yeah.
It's a weird concept.
Yeah.
Like multiplayer.
Ooh, okay.
But you're not fighting each other. You're fighting random bosses around the map. And
Interesting.
It's got like a circle mechanic, like in Battle Royale games, where the arena's constantly closing.
Oh, okay.
That looks promising.
Yeah.
Speaking of like Elden Ring, Dark Souls games, we got another game coming out soon called Kazan.
Okay.
That looks really good. And I'm only going to say these things because I've seen actual gameplay of them.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do. Like, you can't just walk into a game blind anymore.
Right.
Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Because then you are going to get left with a stinker. Like, So let's talk about Avowed for a moment.
Let us open the Pandora's box.
So
that is Avowed.
You see Avowed,
Yeah.
and you think of the name tied to it, Obsidian.
Yeah.
Made one of the best Fallout games ever, New Vegas.
And also contributed. Did they not also contribute to the Skyrim stuff or no? No,
No.
they did. They did. They were part of the one before Skyrim. Oh shoot.
Oblivion?
Yeah, they were part of the Oblivion process.
Yeah, so like you hear that name,
Yeah.
and then like you see what's on screen and you're like, this looks like Skyrim.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you it's not. Like
No.
But here's the thing, like if you don't compare it to Skyrim,
Right.
and you just look at the game for like what it is, it's not bad. Like I played it, I was enjoying it. I like the whenever you like go into like you start off like washed up on a shore, and you can immediately go from like the sandy beach and jump into the water, and the scenery underwater is beautiful. It's like I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I thought the gameplay was fine. It was what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Like I was not expecting to go in there, be able to shoot an arrow up into the sky and watch the arrow fall down.
Right.
That's not really what I play games for.
Right. Well, I think so. Your point, because we were talking about this off air before we started. There's two pieces. There's a lot of things at play here. The biggest issue is Skyrim changed the game.
Yeah.
There is the world before Skyrim and there is the world after Skyrim.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Bethesda kept releasing that thing over and over with special editions and new DLC, because it was such it people still go back and play that game. It's been 10 plus years. I will go back and I will play that game. The power of how that game was designed and built is that it was immersive in every way possible.
Yeah.
Everything you did had somewhat of an impact.
All the NPCs in Skyrim and maybe Oblivion too, I'm not sure, but definitely in Skyrim they all have like their day planned. Like you can follow a character around and see what they do throughout the day. Like they eat, they go to sleep, they work.
It's so, and it's interesting. We talked about this a little bit. Is that was the last real great Bethesda game? Because I mean, yeah, we've had Fallouts but it started to fall apart in Fallout 4, and then Fallout 76 was, and so and then we have Starfield. So there's this idea that, and I'll admit that I'm one of them, and because you say you have to be careful to compare a game to Skyrim.
Yeah.
My problem is my brain has a hard time separating that, because it's like, well, look, yeah, the creation engine is Bethesda's own puppy. They created it. They built it. They whatever. But it's the same point when people argue about Starfield versus No Man's Sky. Both games exist in the same era.
Yeah.
And yet you can do so much more in No Man's Sky versus what you can do in Starfield. That's where the cognitive dissonance, I think, where people struggle with is like, they look at Skyrim and they go, look, it's a 10-year-old game. Now, you could make the argument about engines, and I appreciate that, and I partially agree. But my other part of my brain goes, there's got to be a way.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way. If they did that 10 years ago with an engine that now is out of date and antiquated, like the creation engine is showing its years in the space game that I just lost. Starfield. It's showing its age in Starfield. It was already showing its age in the DLCs for Skyrim that came out, but we still loved it. But it's the idea of we had perfection. Skyrim is what you would call a perfect game. Now it has bugs, whatever. But then you look at these other games. You look at Avowed, and you go, "What happened?" And kind of what we were talking about earlier is you've got dueling screens of here's how NPCs reacted to you in Skyrim, and here's how they react to you in Avowed.
Yeah, they don't really.
They don't. They don't even get hurt. You shoot them, and they don't get hurt. They don't move. Nothing. There is no immersive quality.
Another thing is like in Skyrim, you can, if there's a building with a door on it, you can go inside of it.
Yep.
Unless if it's locked.
Yep.
And Avowed has a lot of buildings that you cannot get into. What's not even locked. It doesn't even say it's locked.
It's just a facade.
Yeah, it's just scenery.
But here's the thing.
Yeah, you can't compare it to Sky. It's just not Skyrim.
Well, and we made this argument earlier. Is the game like BioWare, Obsidian, these game companies, the people that built the games that we loved, they're not there anymore.
No.
Those people have moved on. They've gone to other studios. They've formed independent studios, or they've basically maybe left gaming. And so when we start to see these names, Obsidian and BioWare, and these really great companies, you're like, man, like CD Projekt Red, when Cyberpunk 2077 came out, and people were just like, what happened? What is wrong? I think a lot of it is we forget that those games in those times, those people aren't there anymore. They've left, they've gone on, or they've left because they just don't want to do it. They don't want to be a part of that company for varying reasons, right? So it's kind of like, I think for me and maybe you a little bit, we're used to having companies staying the same back in previous generations.
Yeah.
Where gaming companies, the producers and the designers and the writers, they stayed. Like, they stuck around. They kept producing good content because they had a love of it. But in the last, I would probably say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong or give me a different kind of number, I'd say in the last 10 years, that has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of more independent studios. You have a lot of studios that have gone under. You have a lot of IPs that have vanished, Command and Conquer being one of them. Like, there's been a bunch of that stuff that's kind of just, ooh, you have a thought.
Yeah, you said Command and Conquer. They're making a new Commando game.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
And it looks just like Commando. So like, I bought the first 3 like I got it like as a bundle, really cheap. Because you talk so highly about it.
Yeah.
And I tried to get into it. It was just like too much.
Too much.
I was like, man, what am I doing? I don't know how to. It's like the tutorial, and I'm failing it over and over and over.
Well, I think to that point, there are real RTS or real-time strategy games. You have to be a specific kind of person to play those games. Like your gameplay and how you play games and what games you.
I like real-time strategy.
Okay.
Like some really good ones, like the original Dune game.
Yeah.
On the Sega Genesis.
Okay.
I'm old. That game is awesome.
Yeah.
Halo Wars is awesome. They need to make another one. I wish they would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a hater on real time strategy.
And maybe
it's just like I could tell Commando was made to be played on a PC.
Yeah. And you're more of a console guy. Ish.
I have a PC. It's just there's something very convenient about being able to turn on a box and have a controller in my hand.
Yeah.
And not have to worry about updating my drivers and blah, blah, blah. I mean, the console just does it on its own. So
yeah. I think that's an interesting dynamic between the two of us because I have been a PC gamer since my early days. Like, back when I was in middle school or even high school, we would have LAN parties. We would bring all our computers over to our friend's house, figure out how to, oh my gosh, networking in the late 90s, early 2000s was a trip. Signing DNS and trying to get a functional network together. Thankfully, I had nerd friends who were very smart and knew how to do the networking. So we would play Command and Conquer. We would play these games online in people's houses and we'd do whatever. But like the closest I got was I got a PS3 at one point, and then I got a PS4, and I played Skyrim. That's how I originally got entry into Skyrim, was on a PlayStation 3, I think, and the controller. And then I think I played Dragon Age Inquisition on a PS4 before I got it on PC. So I had a taste of it. But as you alluded to earlier, I am not a competitive person. I just like to play for fun, and I don't like to lose. I'm rage quitting is not something I particularly enjoy.
You know what's funny? This is something I realized about myself recently.
Yeah.
I get more angry playing single player experiences than I do multiplayer.
Yeah.
I can play Halo and be doing really bad and having people sending me direct messages talking about get good, scrub, blah, blah, blah.
Right, yeah.
And that would not faze me as much
as
dying, and I kid you not, this happened like just a couple nights ago,
as
dying over 70 times in one level of Donkey Kong.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you.
Those the Donkey Kong Country Returns, the minecart stages, and then these stages where you got to control a little rocket.
Right.
Where like if you tap the button one time, you go up just a little bit. It's like Flappy Bird.
Yeah. Oh, Flappy Bird's a flashback. There we go. Yeah, Phil's anger level rises.
Oh man, like I was sitting there just like it got to the point where I was getting so angry I would die at the most stupidest mistake. Like as soon as I spawn in, just run right into a rock and die. Like oh, that makes me want to like do gamer rage and throw my controller, but I never do that.
Yeah. Well, then you have to replace the controller, and that's not cheap.
Yeah.
But to that point, that's why it's so, because people sometimes will ask me, like, why do you use a trainer? It's like, because I don't care. Like, I'm not looking for that experience. Like, so like I can't. So when I play Elden Ring, because Elden Ring is a Souls-like game. It's not.
It's made by from Software.
Maybe the same.
It's in the universe.
Yeah, but it's a little gentler in how it hurts you, but it still hurts you when you come up against a boss that. Yeah, you have to figure out the way they move, and you have to like do all those things. I don't have the patience for it.
Yeah.
I've never had the patience for it. And so when I bought Elden Ring, because people were like, "Oh, it's great!" I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I was like, "This is just like Dragon Soul, like Elders. What is it? Not Dragon Soul.
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls." So I've watched before this, like years before this, I watched people play the Souls games on YouTube and watched.
Oh, they make it look so easy.
Oh no, it's rage. It's like they were just like. Rah! I think Angry Joe Show has played them, and he's just like, rah, 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 rah. I'm like, why do I want that? But I went ahead and bought Elden Ring anyway. But because I have a trainer, it's a lot. It's fun, and while people might accuse me of like cheating or whatever, I'm like, I'm not playing online. To your point,
yeah.
But it's also like I enjoy the game more when I don't have to really, really work at it, because that's not my gaming style. It's never been my gaming style. When I had my PlayStation 4 and I would play games on there. It would annoy me because I couldn't use cheat codes, and so I'd have to be very careful on how I played. And then finally, when I got my PC and I was able to actually play it without, with whatever, it was like, oh my gosh, the whole world is open. But yeah, I don't even know where we were going with that conversation, but
I don't either. But I do want to get your opinion on something.
Okay, I'm here for opinions.
So, Grand Theft Auto 5 came out.
Yep, many years.
How long ago?
Oh gosh, long time ago. Here, I'll Google it.
It's been remade for. So it came out on the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360. Then they
release date.
Remade it for the Xbox One.
2013.
Yeah, there you go.
2013.
Over 10 years ago. So
good Lord.
And then they released it on the PC. And then they released the version for PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
And Xbox Series X. I got it, and I can't even remember the name. They say that when Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, that started a new era of gaming.
I would agree.
Because if you think about it, the PlayStation 4 and the PS5 and the Xbox One and the Xbox Series X, we are still releasing games on both consoles.
Yep.
Like, we haven't really like moved forward yet. And people are saying like we're not going to move forward until Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out.
Right.
And a lot of people are trying to make an argument that it's going to cost $100. Do you think, one, the new era will be with Grand Theft Auto 6? And do you think it will be a $100 game? Would you pay $100?
No. Here's the thing.
Games already now are $100. Like if you get like the deluxe edition.
Well, we were talking about offline. Assassin's Creed Shadows is a $70 game at its base. $70. I think Rockstar wants it to be the game that changes gaming.
I think it will.
And given the previews we've seen and elements that the trailer we saw that they debuted like 6 months ago or even like a year ago or whatever, it looks interesting. I think it will be a make or break because we as gamers have had a lot of great games come out. Baldur's Gate 3, Kingdom Come 2 Deliverance. We've had some really solid entries into the world, into the arena of gaming. I think Rockstar, because they finally re-released Red Dead Redemption and released it in the PC world. They finally gave us support. And people were just in awe of it coming to PC. They're like, oh my gosh, I get to go back into this game. I'm going to argue this, and I'm probably going to get yelled at probably on the imaginary audience that we may or may not have. I would argue that Red Dead Redemption 1 is the better game to Red Dead Redemption 2. And here's why.
Yeah, please elaborate.
Red Dead Redemption had a story, and the story had weight, and the story was new, and the story was unique, and the story had heart. When he goes and he meets that lady at her ranch, and the voices they're talking to each other, you believe it. You're in that moment because you don't know what's going to happen next, because you have the ability to choose where the story goes. With Red Dead Redemption 2, it's a prequel. We already know what's going to happen in the end.
Yeah.
There's no unpredictability coming. Okay, maybe in how we tell the character's story as we go, but so I bought the game. I have not gone back. I've gone like halfway through the game, but I haven't gone back into it because yes, it's a beautiful game and the game mechanics are legit.
The level of details.
Yeah, the level, like all of that. But here's the thing.
Goodness, yeah.
That game for me doesn't have the heart of the original because I know what's going to happen. I know it's a prequel. I know where everyone's going to end up in the end. And now people are going to be arguing, well, you just need to get over that. But it's hard for me because I teach literature. I read books. Like I immerse myself in storytelling. If the story is already decided for me, and we talked about this a little bit earlier with some of the games that have come out where you're just a passenger in the seat as the game moves through. If there's nothing that's going to be new, that I'm going to discover, that I don't know what's going to happen because it hasn't been told yet. Versus with this prequel story in Red Dead Redemption 2, yeah, it's already been told. Now, yeah, I could immerse myself in the world and all that, and in some ways that's okay, but it's like I know what's coming. I'm going to go back to Red Dead Redemption when it finally PC ports, and I can enjoy myself in the original game that I adored. There is a special place in my heart for Red Dead Redemption. This way that story was told and the way that story ended, it was brilliant. It was beautiful. So to answer your question, here's the thing, is if Rockstar can tell a unique and interesting and unpredictable and useful and fantastical single-player story in Game 6.
Yeah.
Great.
That's the thing. I'm glad you said single player because Rockstar leans heavy into Grand Theft Auto Online.
Not Red Dead Redemption. Grand Theft Auto Online has been their piggy bank for years.
And I wonder if that's why it's taken so long to get Grand Theft Auto 6.
They had to get the money.
Yeah, they're just.
But you have to think about they made
shark cards.
They made so much money in the original game's release, and people are still buying the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then they made money off of Red Dead Redemption 2. Clearly, that game was a big seller.
Yeah, and its online community is dead.
Yeah,
its online was not good.
I think because, again, it's that game. Does the game have a heart? Grand Theft Auto 5. It's the single player. I don't know if I ever finished it, but I played pretty much a pretty long term into it, and I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It was a very unique experience. You didn't know what was going to happen. You were making and you could switch between characters.
Yeah.
And you was rotating kind of feel. It was never always the same. But here's the thing: Grand Theft Auto 6 it can be shiny and it can be the newest technology and the newest game mechanics and all of that. But if it doesn't have a heart, it's not going to last.
I have faith in Rockstar. I think it'll.
I do too. I mean, of all the companies we've dealt with, and all the companies that have given us games in the past couple of years, Rockstar, at least at a minimum, has met standards.
Yeah.
They haven't bombed. They haven't.
Oh yeah.
They didn't throw Mass Effect Andromeda at us and see if it stuck. They didn't throw what was the game before that was really awful? Anthem. They didn't throw an Anthem at us.
Oh.
For those of you listening at home, Phill just visibly winced.
Hold on, wait. Let's keep naming bad games. Concord.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
There was another one that came out and they shut down already.
Oh.
That was good. X Defiant.
Really?
from Ubisoft.
Yeah.
So it was a first-person shooter that
Yeah.
took place in the Ubisoft world. So like you had factions from Assassin's Creed, from Rainbow Six, and it was a great shooter. Like it could have compete with Call of Duty.
Right.
Like if they would have kept going, but
Right.
they shut down, and I don't understand why. It had the players.
Here's the thing: is that this is the thing about those online. Redfall is another one that was like ridiculously awful, and it wasn't Redfall. The day before. The day before was the game that like they were hyping, and then it came out, and people were like, "This is terrible." And within 24 hours, the studio had shut down because all the refund requests were just like flying in, and they had basically played the system, and they had fooled everybody, and it was bad.
Like even good games just get shut down.
But to the point about what you're talking about, so you said XDefiant. The thing about that is that everyone's trying to be Fortnite, and they've been doing it for what? Because how long has Fortnite been around? There's another Google question.
So, Fortnite's original trailer came out like a long time ago.
Fortnite release date was July 2017.
Yes, the original trailer came out in like 2014 or something like that.
But everyone's tried for the last since 2017, which is just under 10 years ago.
Now everything has a battle pass.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why is because to prove yourself. Now they may have had the players, but maybe their standards of hey, we're gonna make it wasn't. They were like we're not meeting where we thought we needed to be. You had a consistent group of players maybe, but they weren't able to like prove okay we have consistently this many compared to this or whatever, and that oftentimes will sink a good online live service game because
the thing about that is like most of those are free.
Yeah,
like XDefiant was free.
Yeah.
It had option you could buy a battle pass for cosmetics. I am totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you this. I recently got the PGA 2K25.
Yeah.
It's a fully priced game, $70.
Yep.
It has a battle pass type situation that you have to pay for. Like, why do I need that in my golf game?
Right.
Like,
but I think that's the problem is that so they're free to play, but you have play to win cosmetics and things in place. And
sometimes, usually they'll patch those out. Like I remember in Fortnite, like they had a pickaxe that would basically insta kill your enemy, but they patched it, they fixed it. So now everything is just supposed to be cosmetic only. I am not a fan of pay to win, like where you can go and like you can basically pay to level up your character and like games like Diablo and. Just it annoys me so much.
Well, I think
you got Elon Musk out here faking gameplay for Path of Exile. It's like, I'm the best at this game, and you look, and he has no clue what he's doing.
Right. I think to circle back to XDefiant is that there's so many players out there, there's so many games that people won't engage with those games because they've been burned so much, and they've just been suckered into these Fortnite clones, and they're so tired of it as a gaming community or as a culture that they stay with their Fortnites, they stay with their Call of Duties, and they don't go outside because there's so much. After Fortnite came out, like a year or two later after Fortnite, maybe a year and a half later, the release of Fortnite copycats was bonkers. Like you said, every game had this feature. Yeah. And people were like, why are you putting it in a single? I don't need this. I don't want it. Take it out. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
And so the glut of that is people probably could have seized on XDefiant if every other game they were playing didn't have that same thing that was vying for their attention. And I think that's the disappointing part is that in this day and age, gaming companies are so desperate to find a cash cow. Yeah. There's a reason why the Epic Game Store exists. Fortnite powers and feeds that machine.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Steam is what it is because they haven't made a Half-Life game recently.
Yeah.
Steam hasn't made a game in a while.
We're never going to get another Half-Life game.
Because they're too
If they do, just go ahead and skip to 4 because they're allergic to 3 for some reason. We'll never get Left 4 Dead 3. Oh. Instead, we got, what was that game?
Back to Blood.
Yeah.
and it was not good.
No.
And then the World War Z, I've actually been tempted to pick that up because the single player game, like with it's a squad, it looks kind of fun. I've watched some gameplay. And
Yeah.
I've been okay, like that seems like the most closest we're gonna get to Left 4 Dead, and Left 4 Dead 2. So I went back. Our other friend in gaming, Chris, who's a part of another podcast that I do outside of this one.
Yeah.
We talked about Half-Life 2. I think we even talked about it on the gaming podcast at one point, and going back and playing it. And I went back and I played Half-Life, the original. I bought it, picked it up, booted it up, and it was as much fun as I remember.
Yeah.
And then I went back and I played Half-Life 2 because I had not played that one for a long time. And that was even still good.
Yeah.
And I was like...
They changed gaming with Half-Life 2.
Yeah.
Especially like in terms of like physics.
Yeah.
And
all kinds of... Well, talk about Portal. Portal changed... it was like...
There's another one we won't get a 3 for.
Yeah. Because, they did Portal and Portal 2, and then... You're right, they are allergic to 3.
Yeah.
They don't want to try it.
Valve they don't do 3s.
Well, and here's the thing. Probably because, like, by the time you get to the third game, there's expectations.
They I heard somewhere that the reason why we didn't get Half-Life 3 is because they couldn't think of any like new like mechanics, I guess.
Yeah.
They could have added into the game.
Yeah.
And they're like, what's the point? We're not gonna and everyone's like, no, we don't care. Like give us the story, give us what you had is good. Just give us more of that, please. And they're like, no. Not unless if we can come up with something you've never seen before.
Right.
Which, I mean, cool, I guess. Like,
yeah. See, I'm with you on that one. I'm just like, I get it, but
yeah,
you've routinely entertained us, and you know what works. And yeah, we don't want an exact carbon copy.
Because we've seen people who like try to change stuff, and how that goes.
Yeah, it doesn't go well.
Not usually.
No, not at all. Like we talk about. So this comes into my conversation about the new Enzoy. So Sims 1 and 2 and 3 are fantastic games. I own Sims 3. They brought back Sims 2 for re-release, and I'm going to pick it up because I love the Sims 2. I do not like the Sims 4. I have sunk far too much money into that.
I don't know where to start with Sims 4 because Zoe likes the Sims.
Yeah.
And I thought about picking up Sims 4, but like if you search in the store, like on the online store for Sims 4, there's like all I see is what looks like expansions.
It is.
I'm like, what?
It is an insane amount of expansions. So you have expansions, you have stuff packs, you have something, I don't know what they're called. Goods. There's so many different things.
Like pets.
Yeah, there's
tropical.
There's a lot. And so the problem with Sims 4, because this has been a development in the last year or so. Sims 4 came out, and I bought it because I was like, "Ooh, a new Sims game." And then you discovered, unlike the Sims 3. Everything is a loading screen. Everywhere you go is a loading screen. Versus in Sims 3, it was open world. And you could jump in your car and drive halfway across the map to the county store, to the gym, and there were no loading screens. It was all there. And so with Sims 4, it was like, no, we're gonna make it. We're worried about how much, computing power it'll take. We're gonna do that. And it's like, yeah, but it doesn't work because the loading screens, when you load into the environment that you're just going to, it's very clearly still populating, and people are unfreezing and starting to be active.
Yeah.
Versus like you've walked into a world that's alive, and things are happening, and you're just transitioning. So, in The Sims 4, it's the packs are insane. Like the bugs.
I mean, that's all I see.
The bugs,
I think the actual game is free now.
I think it
because
is.
They have so many
expansion packs you got to pay for. Well, there's bugs in the wedding pack. There's bugs in the back to work pack, which has been released for like 3-4 years, and they still haven't fixed it. The dine out pack, where you can make your own restaurant, has bugs that have not been fixed. It is absurd and obscene how EA has been able to do this for so long without a competitor. And Paralives was going to be that competitor. I think it got shelved or is still in development or not coming out soon. However, The Sims 4 Killer allegedly is coming out in a week. It's actually not allegedly. It's coming out in a week. It's called Enzoy. It's from a South Korean developer. And I have watched some playthroughs over the last couple of days. And I'm very tempted to pick it up in a week because it looks so good. Like when you cook meals, it'll show the actual ingredients. Like if you're going to cook a souffle, it'll show you cracking eggs and doing specific things that would be. And Like, you can get a job and you can do these things and you can interact, and the levels at which you can engage with characters and the detail and is staggering. Now, there are some load screens, but it feels like I was watching, I was like, this feels more alive than The Sims 4 ever has. And
Nice.
it's one of those things where it's like this is the same thing happened with with Maxis and SimCity. Okay, when SimCity 5 came out, well, they called it 2019 or whatever. When it came out, it was a disaster. You had to be logged in to be able to play,
Oh, yep.
and the cities were tiny. They weren't big.
Yeah.
And they tried to fix it, but it still is just like, no. So then when City Skylines came out from Paradox, it was the new king. And throughout the life of City Skylines 1, it changed the game. SimCity, what? No one talks about SimCity anymore.
No.
And then City Skylines 2 came out, had a bit of a stumble, but it's coming along. And all anyone is talking about with city builders is City Skylines and City Skylines 2.
Yeah.
That's it. So EA didn't learn their lesson because they keep churning out this content that's expansion pack after expansion pack, $35, $40 for each expansion pack, promising the features, and the features are half-hearted or don't really work or not really tested really well. And so part of me is just like, you know what? EA, you deserve this. You took Maxis and you carved it out into an empty shell of a company, and now Paralives and then Enzoy in a week. Enzoy is going to dethrone you. They're going to kick you off your little highfalutin kingdom, and you're going to lose.
Yeah.
And then you're going to wonder where all your players went. Well, they're going to a company that actually wants to build a life simulator. And that's the thing that drives me crazy, is that EA is a multi-billion-dollar company, and they can't figure it out. And it just, I don't know. I have a lot of feelings, but it's the same thing with Ubisoft. I mean, Assassin's Creed Shadow. They're showing gameplay from that game where it's like, I paid $70 to ride a horse or to get a horse who can't come through an arch in one of my areas. I can't get the horse the horse is unable to come through an arch that is his height, and he could probably realistically get through, but that doesn't work.
Yeah, and I cannot express how important it was or still is for Ubisoft for Assassin's Creed Shadows to be successful.
Yeah.
They might not exist coming up in a few months, half a year or so.
Yeah.
Because they just keep putting out flop after flop after flop. And,
Skull and Bones.
and like I said, they had something amazing
Yeah.
with X Defiant, and they shut it down.
Yeah.
Probably to put more money and resources into Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yeah.
And it's not good.
Yeah.
Like, why?
So I can tell you, I loved Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Absolutely adored that game.
Is that the one where you play in London?
Yeah.
Oh, I started playing that one. Yeah, it's fun.
It's a blast. Like, you play two characters, you can switch back and forth, and you build your gang, and you're taking over London, and there's so much going on there that it's just fun. It's freewheeling fun. Origins made me angry. Couldn't finish it. And then Odyssey blew my mind, and I will still go back and play Odyssey.
Odyssey's awesome.
Because Odyssey is expansive, but it's fun. Like, you can explore and go anywhere, and the ship battles, ship-to-ship battles are fantastic. Black Flag, the originator of the ship battles in Assassin's Creed.
And Rogue, yeah.
Yeah, well, so here's the thing. The reason why Skull and Bones exists is because people were like, hey, you made Black Flag, do it again. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll do it. And then we're like, we don't want what you're giving us. We wanted that, but more.
Yeah.
And you were able to do it before, so why can't you do it right Okay. And so that's, like, there's this whole hit and miss. Like, you talked about Mirage. You played Mirage. It's the game that's set in Baghdad, and you actually liked it a little bit.
Yeah, because it goes more back to their original Assassin's Creed style.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as huge and bloated as say like Valhalla.
Oh, don't get me. Well, actually, let's get started on Valhalla. Valhalla is disappointing because it's such a unique idea.
Yeah.
And I think I talked about this in the podcast before. I don't like having to rob churches. And like,
for me, it's like I don't think this game ever ends.
No, it doesn't.
like it's so bloated. Like,
and there's so much going on, and you have to complete so much, and there's just It's exhausting. And it's not fun. Like, it's like you have to go raid all these monks and these places and these innocent people who have nothing, like, because again, Valhalla is the Norse and the Vikings, and so the Vikings, they murdered and destroyed their way through everything. There was no finesse to being a Viking. You just destroyed and blew up.
Pillage and
Right.
burn.
Assassin's Creed is supposed to be assassin, which suggests there's some skill and talent to what you're doing versus just being a dump truck in a China shop, smashing every single thing you can get your hands on, and then moving to the next China shop and doing it again and again. There's only so much fun you can have after smashing through 16 different antique China shops with your dump truck self.
And climbing 1,200 million towers.
Oh my gosh.
In every Ubisoft game now.
Yeah.
Like, please, okay, this is what games need to stop doing, Ubisoft especially.
Yeah.
Stop putting down yellow tape
Yep.
or paint that tells me I can go there or I can climb through this window.
Right.
Stop doing that.
Right.
Think of something better.
Right.
And stop with the lookout towers.
Yeah.
I don't want to see another look at. They even, what was it? It was one of the Far Cry games.
Yes.
Also Ubisoft.
Yep.
They actually made a joke in one of them talking, like, one of the characters looks at you, they send you off on a quest,
Yeah.
and then he literally looks at you and says, "Oh, don't worry, I'm not going to go have you climb in a bunch of towers or anything." So they know.
They know. They're well aware.
Well aware.
Well, and the Far Cry games just became repetitions of themselves. There was nothing new.
Yeah, it's just like Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember the very first Far Cry?
Yeah, I played it.
Where you had, like, you were
I
becoming like a creature or something.
No, so that was Far Cry 2.
Primal?
No. So the first Far Cry game, this is a flashback, and I'm old enough to remember. First Far Cry game was on an island.
Yeah.
And it was not related to, like, after Far Cry 1 and 2, the series just went off on nutso crazy territory. But Far Cry 1 was a fun little game to play, but it was very isolated. It was an island system, and you were doing things. Far Cry 2, you're in the African Serengeti, and you'd been infected with
malaria.
With malaria, and you had to keep getting injections. It was expansive, and it was beautiful. I picked it up, and I have it on my computer.
But yeah, it was the first Far Cry.
Yeah,
where you get, like, you're not sick or anything, but you have, like, primal instincts. Like, you can see, like, you can see smells, if that makes sense, and you can.
I'm trying to remember this.
There were actually, like, monsters in it that you had to kill.
Maybe.
I think it was called Far Cry Primal.
Well, no,
like,
so Far Cry Primal came after that. So Far Cry Primal was like Far Cry 4, between Far Cry 4 and 5 or 5 and 6.
I gotta look this
up because I remember the first Far Cry. I remember playing that game and absolutely adoring it, and then being. So what's interesting is I think what they intended to do is they intended to make Far Cry 1, and then they made Far Cry 2, which was entirely set in a different world. And the format would have been that each Far Cry game would have gone somewhere different, told a different story and whatever. But because they got addicted, Ubisoft got addicted to their live services and everything else, they started making Far Cry games within the same kind of format. And so by the time Far Cry 5 came along, it was just a joke, and people were just annoyed by the ending of Far Cry 5. But yeah, Far Cry Primal came around in between 4 and 5 or something like that. It was in between the whole system.
Okay, so you're right about Far Cry Primal, but the one I was thinking of is it's the original Far Cry, also known as Far Cry Instincts on consoles. Jack Carver gains feral abilities after being injected with a serum, including enhanced speed, night vision, a powerful melee attack, and the ability to rip off mounted weapons. So, like, you were like,
okay,
you were like a superhero almost.
Superhero, yeah.
And that was the first game.
Yep.
After that, they just all that's out the window.
Yep.
Like, you're getting malaria, you got to take pills, and, like.
So Far Cry 2 is a lot of fun to play. It is.
It has a little charm to, like.
Yeah. It's fun if you're willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
But then
that was the first game I played where, like, your gun would jam.
Yes.
Like, or it would get rusty, like if you're going through water too much. I have that game. I might just install it willy-nilly just
to go back into that world.
Just to go back.
I do it every so often. Every year or so, I'll go back and I'll play Far Cry 2.
You know what I really loved about that game?
Yeah.
Is, like, you got a big, you're in the African desert.
Yeah.
And there's like giant field in front of you.
Yeah.
Of like yellow grass.
Yeah.
And you pull out a Molotov
And you
cocktail
light
and you
it on
chuck
fire.
it. And then the whole field like slowly
Yep.
like engulfs.
Yep.
Like the fire will travel.
Yep. Yeah. You can actually cause damage. And if you were in town and something, as part of the building got lit on fire, it would light the whole town on fire eventually. It was like, again, Far Cry 2 was a long time ago.
I never pulled out weapons in the town because that seemed like a bad idea.
See, I did, and it was like, okay, game over. That was fun. Now I'm trying to play the
reload.
Right, reload. back to the original save.
Quick save.
Yeah, exactly. So Far Cry became a joke of itself. Like Far Cry 5 was the last Far Cry game I played, and I hated it because do you remember what happened at the end of Far Cry 5?
I have not beaten Far Cry 5.
Do you want me to tell you what happens at the end of Far Cry 5?
Might as well.
So, no matter what...
That's the one where the cult guy, right? So that game starts off so interesting.
Yeah, it does. But guess how it ends? Unless I think you really work at it, I don't think there's a way to avoid it. The nuclear weapon that they're holding onto detonates.
Okay.
Creates a post-apocalyptic world. And then there was Far Cry... Oh, it was the next one. It was basically set in the post-apocalyptic world.
New Dawn?
Yeah. New Dawn was then... And it was... People just like, why... This is dumb. Like, it was fun and quirky, but it wasn't fun and quirky enough. And then Far Cry 6 was just more of the same. And people were like, there's nothing new here. What are we doing? Like, what is happening? And then it was just disappointment. So I don't think we have a Far Cry 7 on the horizon. I don't think they've talked about it at all.
No, because we're busy doing Assassin's Creed that they have now lost money on and probably struggling to save the company now.
What's funny is, like, Mirage was good, you said. I enjoyed Syndicate. I enjoyed Odyssey. Like, there's a lot of good gaming history in this IP. The problem is they keep doing these things where, like, they do a really great one. Like, oh, wait, cool. Yay, we're back on. And then it's like, oh, no, we're not. Ha, ha, ha. Funny. Just kidding. JK, here's a disaster. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Enjoy this. $70 game. I don't know. It just becomes a joke. Like, do you remember Legion? Not the Legion games. The hacking game. The hacking.
Watch Dogs.
Watch Dogs. So Watch Dogs 1, Watch Dogs 2, and then Watch Dogs Legion. By Watch Dogs Legion. And you know what? Maybe they need to take a lesson from Steam and not do 3s, because Watch Dogs 3 was terrible and predictable and dumb. Watch Dogs 2
I heard a lot of people didn't like that one.
Watch Dogs 2 was good.
I never got into them anyways because, like, for me, like, I look at it and I'm like, this looks like Grand Theft Auto, and then it's not Grand Theft Auto.
It was an attempt, but it was, I think what they tried to do is they tried to make it different enough that it was very immersive.
Yeah.
And with 1 and 2, it was interesting. 3, they tried to just they're like, oh, we're going to do all of London instead of all of San Francisco. And I was like, okay, well, the story you're telling, you're basically telegraphing what's going to happen, and I don't want that story, so I'm not going to finish your story. So good luck. And then they tried to do like a zombie Legion, Watch Dogs Legion 3. I don't even know.
Weird.
Gaming.
Weird
anyway,
stuff.
So we've just spent the better part of however long talking about how the gaming industry is great, but not so great. So
yeah, you gotta go look for it.
Yeah.
And don't just watch one person's opinion.
Yeah.
Like, if you're looking into a game, watch several people play it.
Yeah.
And because they'll all play it differently. Like,
Yeah.
Aaron likes to use trainers for Elden Ring, and I go online and I see people beat the game level 1, no armor, like not even sweating, and I'm like, oh,
They got
I'm somewhere in the middle there. Like,
right. Well, and I think to that point is like, so spend your money on games that are valuable and that you know are good. And I think this is like the reason why a lot of people are frustrated with a lot of gaming today is, for whatever reason, they're still producing not great games. They're still producing a yearly Madden. They're still producing a yearly, golf game. They're still because people are buying them. Now the PGA game, I think, doesn't suffer from as much as Madden does, which Madden is just repackaging, and people get really upset because it's just like, I'm shelling out this amount of money for a Madden game that's just the same as it was last year with a couple things that you borrowed from the edition 3 years ago and you threw in and refreshed it. So I think for the game, the advice that we would have is be very deliberate in your gaming purchases.
I will say another thing that has like really helped me out too is I subscribe to Game Pass.
Yeah.
And that's hundreds of I get all the first party titles for Xbox day one. Yeah. That's how I was able to play Avowed.
Yeah.
That saves me a ton of money.
Yeah. Well, and you don't have to, and if you don't like the game, you don't have to refund it. You're just, okay, well, I'm not going to play that game anymore.
Uninstall.
And I'll move on to the next one. And I wonder and I worry. So I have two things there. I wonder and I worry if that's the future. Because they do it with Adobe. We were talking earlier about Adobe, how to get access to all the Adobe software. You have to pay a monthly subscription. You cannot buy outright any of those Adobe programs anymore.
Yep.
You have to subscribe to the creative, like little whatever, and that's how you get access. And I wonder and I worry if gaming at some point is going to figure out, hey, we can get more out of people on a monthly basis to play our games than charging them $70 or $80. And I also wonder if that's the thing. Are they going to start charging more, which will then force people to go to the Game Passes and those kinds of options?
Right.
Because Steam already does it with a bunch of games like Crusader Kings 3. You can, or Crusader Kings 3 and other games. You can buy like a subscription to their game, and then you get access to it all. But then if you drop the subscription, well, then you lose access to those DLCs. I wonder if that's part of what they're testing. They're testing, okay, if we can charge $70 for Assassin's Creed Shadows, but if we charge $30 a month for access to all of our Assassin's Creed games, if they stay with us for a full year, we get more money out of them in a year than we would have gotten on the purchase.
Let me tell you, they have a it's like Ubisoft something. They have a subscription where you can do that. You can play all the Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, that was one subscription I canceled so fast.
Really?
Yeah, I did not keep it very long. It's just not worth the publisher specific ones.
Yeah.
Like the Ubisoft or the EA Plus.
Yeah.
EA Plus might be, because I think you can get it bundled with Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
I think I might have it. I don't know. I don't. It's hard to keep up with all the subscriptions we have nowadays. But yeah, don't get the Ubisoft one. Yeah. Unless you just really love those games, and I'm sure there's someone out there that does.
Well, and again, that's
you can climb all the towers to your little heart pleases,
which is exhausting and tiring and all that kind of stuff. Well, that's, I think, the podcast. I think we've got enough on there to let sit for a while. We will maybe in 2 weeks may have a video portion of this podcast that we record next week, and we may do some gaming. We'll see. We have yet to figure all that out, but at least the County Gamers podcast has returned after a year and a half or more hiatus. And it's been nice to talk about games. It's been one of those things where it's both me and Phill have a passion for video gaming. We love it. You might call us older gamers or the olds gamers, but we still have a vested interest in the future of what gaming will look like.
Yeah.
So there we go. Any final thoughts before we close us out?
No, I think we're good.
Okay.
I don't have anything specific left to go to.
I got nothing. Just play games, but don't be like everybody else. Play the games deliberately, do your research, and make sure you're getting yourself a good game, because they're not cheap these days at all. Until next time, my name is Aaron.
I'm Phill.
And this has been the County Gamers. We'll see you on the next one. You've been listening to the County Gamers Podcast, presented by Create at Morgan Productions, located in Fort Morgan, Colorado, USA. For more information on our production house, other podcasts that are hosted here, and further details, please visit www.createatmorgan.org. You can find us on Twitter at the handle CreateAtMorgan. Create at Morgan is a school club at Lincoln High School, our alternative education campus here in Morgan County. Our sponsor is Aaron DeLay, the language arts teacher at Lincoln. Send any feedback to adelayedteacher@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to our podcast.